PFAS in water, and the level that they set was 4 parts per trillion. And that's very important, because if you listen to Lauren talking about different chemicals and different standards that have been set for those chemicals, they're 1 part per million, 10 parts per million, 20 parts per million. PFAS are so small, and they were developed that way, and I think it was genius, it was nefariously genius, but they were created to be so small that to test for these chemicals takes an incredible lab with unbelievable amounts of resources and scientific technology to get into the parts per trillion. That's why PFAS have been under the radar for 40 years. They've been used by 3M for 40 years. You're now seeing an explosion of litigation for them, and it's because nobody could find them. Regulators couldn't find them, the FDA couldn't find them, definitely not environmental groups like who I work with could not find them until now. So we're, my firm and one of the groups that I work with is kind of leading the charge on a lot of this litigation, and we're doing a lot of consumer products. If you see a spice or you see a food product and one says it contains lead and the other one doesn't, I pick the one that doesn't, and I think that's important, and I think that consumers should have that option and knowledge. Or Amazon, they have to actually be somewhat responsible with what they sell on their huge platform, the biggest business we've ever seen in the history of the world. That's all. The most interesting part of this case to me is who's not involved. The company that's not involved in this case is Monsanto and Bayer, and those are the companies that put glyphosate and Roundup. All these farmers across the country used Roundup on their food products, and that's how it's gotten into the food supply. And that's why all this food and all this wheat and all this rice and all this food contains glyphosate. Now, they weren't involved in this litigation. What they have done is they created an $11 billion fund and settled thousands of cases that claimed glyphosate caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in people. And so they settled the case for $10 billion. They've had 5 jury trials in the last year against Bayer, who bought Monsanto. All 5 of those were won by the plaintiffs with 9 and 10-figure verdicts, because the plaintiffs were found to have gotten non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from glyphosate, from Roundup. So the most interesting thing about this case to me is the dichotomy that, in all their infinite wisdom, these judges in California don't think California consumers should be warned if a product contains glyphosate. Whereas on the other hand, the company that manufactures glyphosate has already paid billions of dollars to settle claims that their product causes cancer, and will pay billions of dollars coming up in the future to do the same. So, interesting dichotomy to me.